Alright, I thought I'd do a little bit of an update. I went out and sandblasted with my normal setup these three different arrangements with the adhesive on the back of this 7mm Mylar plastic onto marble. The first one on the left here was this contact cement. The middle one was some rubber cement. And the last one was 3M Super 77. In the case of both the contact cement and the 3M Super 77, you spray the back of the Mylar and you spray the stone itself, and then you let those sit for a little bit. This one, the contact cement, you have to let it sit more like an hour. The 3M, it's more like a few minutes to get it to the, so it's not really wet. It's kind of a quite heavily tacky. And then you adhere it to the stone, and then I smoothed them out so that I got good adhesion. And the idea, I wanted to have the adhesive bond the edges of this stencil to the marble as good as possible and not lift up during the blasting process. So you can see on the one with the contact cement, I sprayed each of these about the same amount of time. You can see this one started to lift up. The little center of the E started to lift up. The N, middle of the N, started to lift up. And the part of the T started to lift up, and then a little bit down here. So what will happen is if you continue on spraying after that starts to happen, you're going to start to get the sandblasting is going to eat away at the edges there, and it won't look so good. The rubber cement had some issues with the edges here around the R. This was kind of the first thing that started to pop off. These here seem to hold pretty good, so maybe I just didn't have enough adhesive along this edge, or maybe it was somewhat related to this practice letter T that I had on the back there. But that shouldn't have really affected this part right here, which it did, obviously. The one that did the best, and I actually focused this, I did this one last. Everything held nice and solid all the way around. Nothing really lifted up. I continued on blasting until something started to happen, and sure enough, it was just to get about a little bit of lifting here, but you can tell that's still on there pretty solid. Nothing is really totally lifted loose. So definitely the deepest one, and what held on the best, was using this 3M Super 77 spray. It's not only the quickest drying, so when you're doing a project, this would be the one I'm going to be doing from now on. It's fast and it's secure, and I was pretty impressed how well that held on through this. So let's take a look with these things with the stencils taken off. Alright, so I got 3 of the stencils off. The contact cement one was a little bit hard to get off, but it took maybe 30 seconds of just prying it back. And it actually looks like some of the stencil is still on there. You can see. So that held on okay. The rubber cement one actually peeled right off. I mean, it didn't take 5 seconds, just peeled right back. The 3M one, I had a little trouble getting it started, and so I did use my heat gun on low just for you know, probably 5-6 seconds. Then it loosened right up. But that's what they look like when they're got the stencil completely off. Now the next issue is cleaning. Obviously the residue for each of those is going to be a little different. What I've had to use in the past to dissolve the adhesive is acetone. So I'm going to do that and see how each of those clean up. Alright, I saturated the block with this acetone here. I started on the 3M side. That was definitely slow to start to dissolve, and then started scraping it off with a razor blade. I moved over to the rubber cement one. That one cleaned right off in literally 5 seconds, so that was leaving very little residue, or at least it came off pretty fast, but maybe that's why it didn't hold its Mylar on very good. And then the contact cement, that also dissolved pretty quickly, but it did start to come off after a little while. I think it takes a few seconds for this acetone to work. Now make sure you put things on with some protection here, otherwise it'll eat right through to your underlying surface there. But definitely the 3M took a little bit more work. It took me maybe about a minute of scraping to get all the residue off using the razor blade, but that's not so bad for that area. It's probably well worth it if it's going to hold the Mylar template on. So that's what I wanted to share today. Thanks for watching.